Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video we're going to be making a basic bodice block, and let's get started. I'm going to be using the edges of the paper as my starting line, and first things first, we're going to be measuring out the shoulder. My shoulder is 15 inches. 15 divided by 2 gives me 7.5. 7.5 plus half inch allowance is 8 inches, and I'm going to mark it right there. Next thing, I'm going to be coming down by the same 8 inches I have at the shoulder, and that's going to serve as both my chest line and my armhole depth. So measure 8 inches right there, and you're going to mark it out. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to come down by my half length measurement. My shoulder to my half length is 15 inches, and I'm going to be marking it right there at 15 inches. So go ahead and measure out yours and mark it at 15 inches, and then I'm going to go ahead and rule it out. So you're going to get your ruler and you're going to rule out the 15 inches you have right there. So I'm just going to rule that out just as you see me doing, okay? Next thing we're going to be doing is to go back to the shoulder. From my shoulder to my armhole depth is 8 inches, and then I'm going to roll that into a straight line. So you're going to roll it vertically and horizontally to form like an L shape, okay? So roll it vertically and horizontally just as you see me doing, and this is going to serve as our armhole depth, okay? Next thing we're going to be doing is to come down by 1 inch, and we're going to connect that 1 inch into the neckline, and this is going to serve as our shoulder slant, okay? So we're going to slant it into the neckline just as you see me doing, okay? Now, next thing we're going to be doing right now is to mark out our neck. And for the neck, I'm going to be using 3 by 3 inches, okay? So you're just going to go ahead and measure 3 by 3 inches for both the width and the depth. So for the width, I measure 3, and for the depth, I measure 3. Now you're going to take your curve ruler and you're going to curve this out. So you're going to curve out the neckline 3 by 3 inches. Please do not forget you could use greater than 3 by 3, okay? Depends on your preference. Now next thing we're going to be doing is to go back to the armhole, and we're going to divide the armhole depth by 2, and my armhole depth divided by 2 is 4 inches. I'm going to mark it right there. And then we're going to come down to the bust, and to get the bust, my bust is 35 divided by 4. 35 divided by 4 is 8.5 inches. I'm going to measure 8.5 inches right there plus half inch allowance. I'm doing this so that I'll be able to get my armhole curve, okay? Now next thing we're going to be doing is to go back to the 4 inch we marked at the middle, and we're going to go in by half an inch just as you see me doing. We're going to curve this out. Now connect the 3 points together to get your armhole curve just as you see me doing in the video. Now we have gotten our armhole curve. Next thing we're going to be doing right now is to come down to the waist line. That's your half length line, and you're going to measure out your waist. My waist is 28 divided by 4, which gives me 7, and I mark that out. Next thing I'm going to be doing right now is to measure the dart, and for the dart I'm using 3.5 inches. 3 inches for the dart, so I measured 3.5 inches, and we're going to connect the waist to the bust just as you see me doing in the video. Now next thing we're going to be doing right now is to come down from the half length by 1 inch. I'm going to come down from the half length by 1 inch in order to add your allowance. Now this is going to serve as allowance, so just add 1 inch all the way, and you're going to connect that, okay? You're going to rule that out. So go ahead and rule it out. And then Next thing we're going to be doing is to go to the chest line. Now the 8 inches you marked as your armhole depth will also serve as your chest line. So you're ruling that out. Now next thing we're going to be doing is to come down by 1 inch from the chest line. So come down by 1 inch from the chest line, and then you're going to rule that out. Now this 1 inch we're coming down is going to serve as our dart line, and that's where our dart will stop. Okay, so rule that out. Okay, now next thing we're going to do is to measure out 3.5 inches for the dart on the dart line, and you're going to take the 3.5 inches you have on your half line to the dart line, and then you're going to rule that out into a straight line, just as you see me doing. So rule that out into a straight line. Now you're going to go ahead and label out your chest line, your dart line, your half length, and then the allowance you added. Okay, now that's what we have. Next thing we're going to be doing is to go in by half inch for the dart, and go in by half inch and go out by half inch, just as you see me doing. Go in and out by half inch on both sides, and then you're going to connect that to your dart line. Okay, from your half length all the way to your dart line. Now this is going to serve as my dart. Okay, just as you see me doing, from your half length all the way up to your dart line. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and connect the allowance, connect the dart line to the allowance. So just go ahead and straighten the line out so that it can go down to the allowance, just as you see me doing in the video. You're going to connect your side measurement into the allowance too. So guys, this is what we have. Next thing we're going to be doing is to be adding our allowance at the side. I'm using 1.5 inches for allowance, so you're just going to add 1.5 inches, and then you're going to go ahead and add 1 inch for your dart. The 1 inch you took out for dart, ensure you put that back. For the on the bust, so you're going to add 1.5 inches, and you're going to connect that to your half length. Okay, this is going to serve as your allowance. Ensure you add enough allowance so you do not have shortage at the end of the day, and then you connect that out. Next thing we're going to be doing is to label it. So don't forget that I didn't fold my paper into two. Ensure that you fold your paper into two and cut on fold. On your fabric, ensure you cut on fold, and then I'm just going to label out the allowances so that you understand. Okay, so we have allowance on the side and also allowance at the down part, and then don't forget to cut on fold. We're going to go ahead right now and cut this out, just as you see me doing. So cut it out all around. So guys, this is what we have after cutting. Next, we're going to go ahead and label the front. So guys, this is our front. I've gone ahead to place my pattern paper to cut the back, and I just added a little paper because I do not have enough paper. Now next thing we're going to do right now is to measure out the zipper allowance. So for my zipper, I'm going to be adding 2 inches all the way from the top of the paper to the bottom. So I'm just going to measure 2 inches all the way, and I'm going to rule it out. So guys, measure out 2 inches and rule that out. Connect all the dots together, just as you see me doing. Next thing we're going to do right now is to place the front pattern on the back. So if you're cutting directly on your fabric, this is all you have to do. Place the front on the back and just cut it out. You're going to trim it out. So I'm going to use a tape to hold down my paper. So I'm just going to use a tape and hold down my paper all the way. Okay. So I've gone ahead to cut out the back piece from the front. Now I'm going to use my marker to mark out the neck width. So the neck width, I'm going to trace out the width for the front and the back. Okay, so I'm going to take out my tape and I'm just going to make a mark right there at the width of the neck. Now I'm going to go ahead right now and take out the front piece. Now I'm going to hold down the paper and then I'm going to go ahead right now and measure out the neck for the back. So the neck width for the back is 3 inches. That 3 inches, ensure that you start from your zipper allowance. So from your zipper allowance, measure 3 inches and then 1.5 inches for the width, for the depth, sorry. So for my depth, I measure 1.5 inches and for the width 3 inches. And I'm going to connect that together. Just as you see me doing, and this is what we have. Next thing I'm going to do is to connect the neck into the zipper allowance. Just as you see me doing, connect the neck into the zipper allowance, and I'm going to go ahead and trim this out. So go ahead and cut it out. We're going to label the zipper allowance. The 2 inches space you added, just label it as your zipper allowance. And then don't forget your cutting on fold, and this is the back. Next thing we're going to be doing is to measure out our dart. Now on your half length, you're going to measure out 3.5 inches for the dart. Starting from your zipper allowance line, measure 3.5 inches. Now next thing you're going to do is to measure out the chest line. Now for the back, you're going to measure out from your shoulder down to your chest line at 8 inches. You're going to roll this out. You're just going to roll it out just as you see me doing. Connect it to the zipper allowance line just like this. And the next thing we're going to do is to measure 3.5 inches for the dart on the chest line just as you see me doing, and we're going to roll it out. Now after we're going to roll it out just as you see me doing. Now after rolling this out, you're going to measure ½ inch coming in and ½ inch going out. Just like this. And then you're going to connect it to your dart line, okay? Connect it to your dart line, which is your chest line. And this is it, guys. So what we have. This is what we have. And we've come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And this is what we have for the front and for the back. So guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Please do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Bye.